morning. Good morning, everyone. Look, I'm going to say Happy New Year too, because this is our first show of the year. So I'm excited about this new year. We're starting, and we are going to talk about the ever popular relationships. So I just wanted to put that out first, but I also want to share with everyone our panelists for today. And I'm so thankful that the Dr. Dwayne Dwyer has decided to join us. Dwayne, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, but professionally, so that viewers can understand who you are on the panel? And I would like each and every one of you to do the same thing. If um, Tawami can go, I'll let Miss Naisha go. If I mispronounce your name, please forgive. After him, then Michelle, Adrienne, nothing too long. So we can go ahead and get started.
All right. So, as you stated, my name is Dr. Dwayne Dwyer. Retired Army vet, government contractor. Cut my teeth in human services counseling and Christian counseling, and project management. And so that's what got me to this space in my life right now, and I'm enjoying it and love to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, and we are so thankful that you're here with us today to help us with your professional, voice.
Well, my name is Naisha Greenfield. Naturally, I'm an accountant by trade. I too am a veteran of the United States Air Force, and I build and encourage people all the time. So I'm always talking to people about growing. Relational things always happen to come up, but my purpose in the earth is to encourage, to give hope, and to bring about inspiration and growth. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
My name.
You're gonna go last, son of Timothy, if you don't mind. Okay.
You want me last? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Ray. I am too a veteran of the United States Army. I am currently a training developer for the troops because I have a heart for the troops. And I am also a daughter of the Most High God, the King. And so that's my purpose, is to continue to be a disciple for Christ and to spread the gospels to all, and be a help to my brothers and sisters wherever they are, whenever. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us.
My name is Adrienne Walthour, and I am a auditor by trade. I'm also a sister and a big old auntie with a whole lot of nieces and nephews. I'm also a daughter of the Most High, and I am on a journey to unlearn and relearn some things, along with making sure that Christ is at the center of that all. And so with that, I'm enjoying my walk. I'm enjoying all the people on the panel. I've learned so much, and I am going to continue to learn, becoming, and I will be becoming. That's what it is. That's my walk. So, thank you.
Thank you, Miss Adrienne.
All right, now's my turn. My name is Tawami Gaddy. Believe it or not, I got dubbed actually in this community as the son of Timothy in the chats before I actually ended up on the panel. And seeing that my father's name is Timothy, I just adopted the name. So I am the son of Timothy, also known as the available man. I am as well a veteran with a retirement date of 17 January 2026, according to my orders. So, so I guess I can officially say I am a retired military veteran. I'm an ambassador for truth. That's if anything else that I can say about myself. If I don't know it, I'm gonna search it. And when I find it, I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna tell the truth on Christ, tell the truth on the Most High, and rightly divide His word. That's what I'm here for.
Thank you guys all for being here. I do appreciate each and every one of you. I wanted to say that me and Adrienne are panelists for the Hearts of Women, and we thank all of you for joining us as guests today. And hopefully you will find it in your hearts to come and join us again when we send you back another invite. So I want to just thank you so much for being here. I think these conversations, my name is Lisa Keys. I am I am the host for the Hearts of Women, and we are a part of the Empowering Perspective community. We have a Hearts of Men podcast as well. So this is a spinoff from their podcast. And we come together so that we can have these conversations so that we can continue to grow and learn. And we identify that we don't know everything, but we're growing and we're learning together. So these conversations, I think, are very important for us to have. And I appreciate, again, each and every one of you being here. I also want to make sure that I mention those who are in the chats. I don't want to forget those. You guys are so important to this conversation, and I appreciate each and every person who is here, who was a part of this conversation today. So we have Mari M, Miss Robin. Thank you for being here. Yes, it's Maya. Thank you so much for being here. Crystal Everett, thank you so much. Crystal Everett does so much in the background, we appreciate her. Her and Nick D for doing all the things that they do in the community. So thank you so much. Because it takes all of us together to come together to make this happen. So we appreciate you. So I had to put my chair down. Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Chosen One. Thank you, Chosen One, for being here. I'm sorry I didn't see you. If I didn't mention your name, please do not take it personal. I did not see you. I'm just trying to make sure that I highlight those people who I was able to see, and I will make sure that I reach out or say something through this throughout this podcast. So thank you so much again for being here. Okay, so I'm excited about this conversation because I think that we always have to continue to have this conversation so that we can learn, so that we can grow, and so that we can be better together. So I wanted to talk about the design, how God's intention for us to be in relationship, right? And a lot of times we do have the conversation about relationship as friendship, as brothers and sisters in Christ. But I wanted to make this a little bit more focused on how we are to be together in covenant relationship together. In marriage, some of it's going to, it's all inclusive. So it's all going to lead back to us being in relationships as brothers and sisters. So I did want to, I have some questions that I prepared, and we're going to try to, spin off of some of those questions. And we're going to ask you to, if you have any questions in the chat, to please put your questions in the chat, and we will try to address those as well, because we need you to make this time together successful. So thank you so much. So I am going to go ahead and put the first question up, if you don't mind. Okay. So first question. If we're getting any feedback, if you just go ahead and mute your mics, and then I will mute up as soon as you get ready to respond as well. Okay. What does it mean to engage in relationship intentionally? And how can this shape our experiences and foster growth?
I guess I'll go. So when I read this question, I had to think about the definition of intentionality or intentionally. And what surfaced from that is being purposeful, being mindful, and being proactive about what I am that I'm doing, not just male, female, but just all my relationships. And that the way that we connect with others. So I have to have clear communication when I'm speaking to my brothers and sisters, my mama, my dad, my sisters. And also in the space of that, I have to understand that I have to set certain boundaries as well, because the boundaries are going to help protect what's inside, and be present. And when I say be present, that means when I talk to my sister or my daughter or whomever, I'm present in the conversation. That means that if they're speaking, I respond to how they're speaking to me and not overtake the conversation. And so there is a level of understanding and trustworthiness that I develop as I'm being intentional. And the example I have of that is Nathan and David. Their relationship was intentional. And just like Jesus and the disciples, those are intentional relationships that Jesus built with his disciples for them to become disciples. And so it just took me to Proverbs 27:17, iron sharpened iron. So as I am being intentional about what I'm doing with my relationships, I am too being sharpened as well.
I'd like to take a stab at this one. When reflecting on this question, I too came with purpose as well. And when I think about intentionality, I think about there's a reason and a goal behind the action. So I was looking at it from a relational situation as a man and woman. And so it's really, why you are connecting, and what it's like, knowing the what and the why. Like, what are we doing? Giving definition to that, the reason why we're doing it. And the reason why these things are important is because sometimes there's mixed signals that can be in a place if you're not clear on the intention or the intent of a situation. So I believe that this doesn't blur lines when you actually operate in intentionality. The two parties involved there's a level of clarity that it brings. And so I wanted to say that. So there's not leading on. And sometimes in relationship spaces, especially romantically, you'll see where one party is thinking that this is something and the other party is not. And that's because that shared definition, that shared intentionality hasn't been made clear. Like, what are we doing and why are we doing that? So that's what I was thinking about, is that in the growth in that, is it helps me to understand you better and you to understand me better. And then, we can mutually, just define what this is. Other than that, we're just aimlessly, going without a true purpose. So that's what I got for this one.
I'll take a shot in the dark on this one. So when I look at the word intentionally in relationships, I think we believe relationships that don't have good turnouts don't have intentions. They just may not have good intentions, right? So I think we all have, and this my initial thought when I saw you and decided to approach you, there was an intent, right? What that intent is depending on who I am and depending on how I was brought up or what I've been taught. Because when we start talking about relationships, half the problem with intentionality is, well, before I even go there, so I believe we initiate on intentions. Now, even if my intentions are good, the problem with being able to move forward in that relationship intentionally is based upon what I know about relationships. I know what I want this to be the end goal. This is what I want my marriage to look like, my family, my household to look like. But I've never been taught on how to get there, on what it takes from me to sustain that or to foster that. So, a part of intentionality has to come from knowing how to get to where you're trying to go. And so that's why it's important that as children, we're being trained up to be adults. I think, and that's one of the things I talk about all the time. Like, why do we raise children to be children? We're raising them as they grow up to become adults. And so there's things about relationships that we just were not taught, that we had to learn on the fly. So it takes away from my ability to move with intentions within the relationship.
And I love it when Tawami speaks. I promise y'all. I'm sorry. When I went to look up kind of do a little research on this and what this meant as far as I was, my thought process, is I also thought about purpose. And I thought about leaning in and understanding exactly what it is that you want to happen in this relationship, especially in a romantic setting. I never thought about, just going back to the Son of Timothy, I never thought about actually realizing that a lot of it we don't know. And as he was speaking, it made me think about staying in a child's place, because we're not taught to be adults, right? We're taught to be children. That kind of booms socks off a little bit. But going back to what it is that I was thinking about, is that when it comes to being intentional, you have to intentionally communicate. right? And I think that is the foundation. Intentionally stating what it is that you are actually wanting and looking for, and also listening. So stating that, but then listening for that for the outcome of what it is that you're looking for. And if it doesn't align, it doesn't align. It doesn't have to, go left. But if you are walking and leaning into your purpose that way, being purposeful in connecting with someone, then I think that the communication is the foundation of where it is that you have to be intentional about, and stop living in your own thoughts and fantasies, and actually communicate with the other person and make sure you're still speaking the same language.
I'm loving all of these responses. And I mean, I don't disagree with any of them. I think looking at the first part of the question, what does it mean to engage in relationships intentionally? I think three things we have to understand: presence, expectations, and aligning actions with values. I think that's the first thing we look at when we start talking about being intentional. And I don't care what you're talking about. You can be intentional about your job. You can be intentional about improving your finances, be intentional about, owning a home within the next 5 years. Those three things will apply. So intentionality encompasses all of those things, but we have to go back and look at what are we talking about. Am I talking about expectations for someone else, or am I talking about expectations for myself? A lot of times we confuse it and we'll say my expectations is for the other person. Wrong. The expectation should be for self, right? It is all about aligning, again, going back to the third part, aligning your behavior with your values. I have an expectation to behave in alignment with the values in which I believe, and my behavior now becomes the evidence that helps me to understand that I am not necessarily where I think that I am. Now we can go back to the other part of it, because the other part of it is, I think, clear, is the most important part: purpose, clarity, and oh my God, purpose, clarity, and well, let's just stick with purpose and clarity for right now. Now, when we look at purpose, again, have you come to a conclusion of what your purpose is in life? And I'm not just talking about the unified purpose. Now we're talking to what you're called to do as well. Having a unified purpose, right, which every man has a duty, the whole duty of man, right? So as long as we both understand what that unified purpose is, and we both believe in that, that opens the door for potential relationship. That does not define relationship right now. It just opens the door for potential relationship. And then when I start looking at this clarity, am I clear, crystal clear on the thing that I'm called to do? And then I am applying myself. I'm putting my nose to the plow, putting my hands to the plow now, and I am doing that thing. So now what you've just found in this great pool of unified purpose, now people are starting to streamline. Why? Because the thing that you put your hand to the plow to do, everybody is not called to assist you or aid you with that. So now that kind of defines that. So when it looks at when we look at this, and I'm sorry, the third part was a commitment to growth. That's what it was. I had to look back at the question. When I looked at it, that was it. The commitment to growth, which means that now complacency isn't an option. Stagnation is not available for me. And if that's the case, when you meet said person, do they have a commitment to growth? Are they growth minded, so forth and so on? If not, well, that's another one. I hate to say it this way, another one bites the dust. I'm sorry. We just got to be honest and straight clear with these things. So now, what does it mean to engage in relationships with intentionality? And how can this shape our experiences and foster growth? Relationships is a growth environment. That's it. I don't care how we talk about it. If we're not looking at relationship as an environment that forces us to grow, we have yet to understand relationship.
I love every one of the responses. And so I wanted to just share as well, because when I thought about this, right, I thought about a scripture text. It's in Ephesians 5:15, right? It says, "See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise." When I'm thinking about intentionality, right? And so to walk circumspectly means to look around and to be fully aware of where you are stepping, where you're going in relationship, right? And that means that we stop and we make sure that we don't leave anything to chance. And so I think that we should be that intentional, instead of stumbling into something blindly or based on our current level of awareness and knowledge, right, pertaining to as it pertains to relationships. So I think clear intentions are important. And I know I've heard you guys use the word purpose, and I think that's important as well. And like Coach said, once you identify this, I'm gonna make this gonna be a little bit funny because this is what I thought about when he said it. I thought about him like just cutting him off at the knees, like, go on, you ain't it. Go. You are not the one. So that's what it made me think about, right? So it shapes our direction, and it leaves confusion out when we are intentional about entering into relationship and not into. I think Adrienne used the word fantasy, because there's sometimes we enter into relationships with this fantasy of how it's going to be, and then because of that, you have your own ideal and fantasy of how you think it's going to look, and it doesn't, and then therefore there is issues that arise. So I think it's important that we be intentional as we enter into relationship. I'm sorry. Anyone else wanted to add anything to that? No? I think all the questions were good, and I want to ask this question as well. So when you think about now, right now, not prior to, this is not a question that's on a list, you guys. So when you think about right now, when you are considering maybe entering into a relationship, what are your thoughts? I'm just going to ask you, what are your thoughts when you think about entering into a relationship now?
For me, the word that screams out to me very loud is character. And the reason why is because, and it's character beyond what is being said. I believe that it's easy to talk. It's easy to say things, just like sometimes people just run down and answer questions all the time. But it's not easy to fake character. So I believe that in this season for me, it's less about what someone says and how they communicate and how they articulate. It's more about how they live and who they are when no one is watching, the integrity part, the accountability part. So character is major for me in this season, because that's what when you marry, that's what shows up, is really the person's character. And they can try to hide it, or perform, but really what you're really going to be tied to at the end of the day is the character, whatever that looks like. So that's a huge word that we can't miss in this season. For myself, is what I tell myself. You got to watch out for the character.
So this question, before you answer, this question is lead into question number 2. So let's go ahead and put question number 2 up, and you can continue to answer this question as well. Question 2 from Ephesians: does a husband's love influence his wife's submission? I think that is from our last one, so I put the wrong question in there. Let's answer this question, because that is from before. I'm sorry. My apologies. So the question is, what are the dangers of rushing into relationship, and how can patience lead to deeper connections?
So,
just in case you need me to repeat it, I will. I'm sorry.
thank you, Sister Lisa. So to kind of tie into what Naisha is saying is, I like that she said character, but I want to add behavior to that as well, because what we end up doing is missing I call it kind of like 3 parts of that person, the before, the middle, and then the end part of it. And so I don't get to see all the different phases of this person when they're upset, when they're not pleased with something, when they're okay with something, when they have an issue with something. How does their behavior show up? Do they know how to express themselves and use emotional intelligence instead of lashing out or going off on you? So in the midst of that, you're missing that there may be a misunderstanding, or there may be some areas where y'all beliefs are not aligned. So if my beliefs or his beliefs aren't aligned, then there's going to be issues there from the beginning, and then we miss the red flags. The red flags are present, but we overlook them because he might just look a certain way, smell a certain way, and we just overlook all those things, but they're present. And so those, not necessarily from a place of judgment, but to be aware that, number one, they're human. Number two, they have a certain behavior that you have not yet seen, but give time, it will show up. And I rest there.
First of all, I want to echo what both ladies said, because I agree with both of you 100%. What I thought about was the quote that I think Coach taught us from James Baldwin. I can't believe what you say, because I see what you do. Did I get it right? Mm-hmm. And I think that encompasses character and integrity. And I don't want to jump too far ahead, but also slowing down to actually see the red flag. Sometimes I think the speed of trying to get to the finish line, so we think we kind of like mash the gas, and we fly past an entire circus of red flags going on, trying to get to the end. So I think that if I would answer that, besides character and integrity, and behavior, because I believe that as well, but letting that time pass to make sure that is something that is consistent. Because that's one of the things for me that it tends to be absent. That person can show up in any situation with the cape on and, ready to do all the things, say all the things, and they can maintain that caricature for a long time. But like you said, eventually those layers of the onions got to get peeled back, and you're going to start seeing some things that you're going to have to kind of sift out. And of course, not to a level of perfection, but to a level of alignment.
Just so I'm understanding, we're going into both questions, right? The leading question and into this. Mm-hmm. So my first initial thought of going into a relationship is, where am I? I'm not even worried about them yet, because they're not there. Where am I? Am I completely healed from what just took place, from the last separation? Am I completely made into where the Father is taking me in this moment and in this season? Because here's the thing that we don't talk about. When I'm in transition, I can't give you the authentic me, because I'm still redefining that, because he's taking me someplace. So I have to be in a place to where, I'm also giving the other person a true opportunity to choose, because he's making me over. I'm not who I was yesterday, and I'm not, and tomorrow is going to look different. He's evolving me in this season. So am I in the season to where I can take on or jump into somebody else's life and disturb what they got going on, because I'm in a process. I'm growing, I'm healing. So where am I at? That's my first thing. So, because I think that begins to set the groundwork for everything else that was mentioned, right? Before I start looking at what you believe, what do I believe? I know I believe in the word of the Most High. I know I believe in the Son. But what are those things? Because here's the thing that Isaiah, the question Isaiah asks. He says, "To whom shall he give knowledge, and to whom shall he teach doctrine? Those who are weaned off the milk and off the breast, right? Therefore, line must be upon line upon line, and precept must be upon precept upon precept." So, if he's rebuilding me in this word, I don't yet have doctrine, because he haven't taught me doctrine yet, because he's reteaching me his word. Therefore, I can't come to you and determine if we believe the same thing. You may carry the same book, but do we believe the same thing? So that I think that work on myself, allowing the Father to continue that work on me, gives me the groundwork I need to move forward. So, which I think kind of goes into the dangers of rushing into relationships. When you start into a relationship, you start finding out very early if you're prepared to move forward. And sometimes we ignore, And everybody talked about the other person. Sometimes we ignore our red flags. I'm a walking red flag right now, but I'm trying to hide it from you because I don't want you to know I'm unhealed, because I really want to be in a relationship. I'm tired of we hear it all the time. I'm tired of being lonely. I'm so tired of being alone. You know, we grew up on it. You know, don't judge me, coach. You know, but we get to those mindsets that we don't recognize our own red flags in ourselves, and it is so selfish to jump into something and disrupt what you got going on. You might have finally found your place of peace, and now you back out here in the dating world, and here I am with my messed up tail trying to mess you up because I don't know where in the world I'm going. And then I'm mad when you get on social media, like, oh, I came back in and all men are still the same. Well, because I should have took my butt home and sat down somewhere.
First and foremost, Gad, I appreciate you saying everything I was thinking. And I'm not mad at that, because that's exactly what I described in the beginning when I started articulating the first question. I think, number one, we got to stop listening to the doctrine of Beyonce. Yeah, I think that's where a lot of us struggle. We're quick to get to the finish line, but you ain't even know what you're buying. You don't know what you're yeah, exactly. You don't even know what you're getting into, right? You're so quick to rush to the finish line just to say, oh, I got this, oh, I got this. Yes, absolutely. My job is to make sure that I am in position, that I am actually postured to actually be able to have a healthy relationship, to be able to usher me and her in the direction that he is calling us. That's my responsibility. And I should take that responsibility. I shouldn't take it lightly. I should be laser focused when it comes down to that. We talk about the red flags all the time. We never talk about the green flags. And you know what? Green flags can be deceptive. I'm going to say it again. Green flags can be deceptive, because it may look good. It may smell good. It may walk good. It may talk good. It may say all of the right things when the lights, camera, action is on. But wait till they get mad one time, baby. Then you're going to see the truth. We call that the difference between the mask, the mirror, and I do it all the time, the core, right? The core is the hardest person for you to change. There are some core beliefs that you have about yourself that was taught to you when you were younger, and you've done a really good job of pulling the blanket over that and covering it up. And when people see you, they don't see your upbringing. They don't see the things that you've been through. They don't see the unhealed trauma that you have yet to deal with. And then when they get in relationship with you and they start talking with you, and next thing you know, the self-centeredness comes out, the arrogance come out, the me, and me's. And oh yeah, by the way, let's not forget about the old saying, happy wife, happy life. So that man gonna end up spending the rest of his life chasing the happy that she have yet to articulate to him, and he's gonna end up running around on a hamster wheel. So I want to talk about the green flag, because the green flags are deceptive. We talk about the red flags all the time. Those are easy. That's low-hanging fruit. I can see when a person lose their temper. That's easy, especially if they do it on social media. Ups, X, delete, unfollow. But what happens when you meet them face to face? What happens when you get to talking to them and you start to understand who they really are, because they can't wear that mask for but so long? Stop rushing to the finish line. Stop listening to Beyonce. Stop allowing your mama, your daddy, your granddaddy, your grandmama to rush you into something that you may not necessarily be ready for.
See, I'm going to agree, echo what Crystal said. This is good, because these are the things that we have to be mindful of, right? Trying to rush in to being in a relationship because of what's in the core, what we were taught, what we saw, what was example before us, but not thinking about the outcome of the things that we were taught. And anything that you do in haste, anything you do in haste, I'm gonna go on the limb and say 9 times out of 10 is not gonna turn out well. Anything that we do in haste. And it makes me think of this scripture in 1 Samuel. I think it's 1 Samuel 6:17. I can't remember the exact verse, the address to it, but what God is saying, that, man looks on the outward appearance, but I look at the heart. And I think that we have been so desensitized about the outward appearance, and we accept anything that we see, and it's appealing to our eyes or to the flesh. So that's what we think that we should join our lives with. And then we make this decision out of haste. Don't take the time to deal with the red flags, the green flags, the yellow flag, all the flags. We don't take the time to deal with all the flags. And then we get an outcome, and then we are innocent because it happened to me. Not that I was a willing participant in making these decisions, but I'm the victim. No, the decisions, we have to be responsible for our own decisions and how we enter into everything that we do. And if we're going to be using that as an excuse because it didn't turn out the way that we wanted it to turn out, then that tells us that we cannot rush into anything hastily. We have to take our time. We have to get to know who these people are, because you can wear a facade for just, I don't think it's for a long time. I think that if we're paying attention, you can see it almost immediately. I think you can identify if a person is being authentic or if they're not. Just give time, like Coach said, his grandma will say to him, give time. Okay, so did you want to put up some of these comments or statements, Coach, that are in the chat? And thank everyone who is in the chat participating. Thank you for everything that you're doing. So, okay, now this is good. Too many green flags can be the red flags. I agree. The people who have never had successful relationships will be the loudest ones. Hold on. In the space of advice that no one asks for. Miss Brower said, everything that looks good to you isn't good for you. I mean, my dad used to say that as well. I agree. Thank you guys so much for participating in this conversation. I think it's very important. If you have any questions as we are having a conversation, please put your questions in the chat. Did anyone want to add anything from what we were saying? Are we in agreement with hasty and rushing in?
I agree 100%. And, even having been a person who has experience in this, moving a little bit faster than, you should have. I was thinking as everybody was talking is that sometimes this idea has been taught. And so this can sometimes be one of those things that we have to unlearn. And when I say taught, like depending on how you came up and in spaces where you were taught that there was a concern with long courtships and long, and things of that nature. Not everybody, but in certain settings, it was like, once that type of thing. And I think that has tripped up some people because you didn't give it time, you know what I'm saying? And so now this is one of the things that sometimes you got to unlearn. It's very case by case with individuals, because you do see and hear the stories of people who met short time and it worked out for them, but that's not everybody's story, you know what I'm saying? And so I think that sometimes when we're rushing, we can sometimes mistake the chemistry aspect of a connection with the actual compatibility aspect. You know what I mean? Our lives may not even be able to be compatible or aligned, but the chemistry could be flowing in the beginning, because it usually is. That's usually what brings some connection. And I can mistake that as meaning that this should be more than what it really should be. So I think slowing down is like driving down that road. You know what I'm saying? You passing the exit, you didn't see the full sign because you went so fast. So yeah, I agree 100% with everything. That I think we're all on the same page. Like, take your time, slow down, don't rush. So
yeah,
I had a question. I'm sorry.
My apology.
No, it's okay. I was gonna just ask a question, and maybe you can. Actually, it's about your comment, and just from the chat, because I agree 100% with what Son Timothy said. And I think sometimes, especially when you're talking about having your own search in your own healing process. We'll use that healing process, and where you just kind of just want to be in a position to where you will be the best candidate for someone who's looking for a romantic relationship. You know, you need to take that time out to work on yourself, do some things that are, but you still have the desire, right, for other relationships, but you know that it may not necessarily be your time. My question would be, is that how do you handle both thoughts at the same time? Like, you know, you are not in a good space for someone, not necessarily perfect, but just not in a good space, but you still have the desire, and your human needs still wants that connection. So how do you handle juggling both?
Man, I see Coach smiling because I know he's gonna clean this up after I muddy it. Because I can only really speak from me, right? And sometimes, you know, in the space of things like this, men may not be the best advice giver. Because my thing is just, hey, the way I look at it is I have to discipline myself long enough till I get comfortable about myself, to where I'm not in a rush. Is there a still a desire? Yes. Half the time the desire come from, you know, when I see somebody, I'm like, boy, hold on, wait a minute. I need to rethink this. What's your, you know, but then I gotta go tell myself, go on, sit down, go on back home, go on, do whatever you gotta do. You know, I keep that main focus in my mind. But I'm a homebody in the first place. So you're not going, unless you at my job, I'm not really going out and about searching or finding people, right? So I become comfortable in my own space. Not so much that when he makes me, when he prepares me, when I get to that point that I don't want nobody to come talk to me no more. I don't want nobody to interrupt. I'm stuck in my ways. I'm not to that point, but to the point to where I'm not in a rush to go bring somebody into this space to disrupt it, or to go into somebody else's space. And here's my main kicker. I understand that the Father has a plan and a purpose for me in this season, and I'm not going to disrupt that, because that's what's most important right now, is that He completes the work. And when that time comes, how do we know we're ready? That, I think, that is the real question. You know, for me, how do we know that we're at that place now that I can, you know, move forward? I ain't say I had the answer for that one. I just said that's the real question.
I think that's a really good question. I think the thing that we really don't do a good job with is trying to determine the source of a thought. So me having a desire for a thing, sure, that's an obvious thing. Me understanding the thing that I need to do in order for the desire for that thing to be a healthy desire, something totally different. When I look at just the pure desire, it's coming from a place of probably habit, something I've conditioned myself to do for so long, being in the company of another person. And then a lot of times, and you see it all the time, you're in a relationship, then that relationship ends, and then the next thing that person jumps into another relationship just like that. Why? Because they're accustomed to being with a person, and they feel like they can't function unless they're in some type of, you know, connection of that caliber. But if I understand, like Gaddy said, I just went through a thing. There's some things I need to understand about myself. There's some things I need to repair, all this other great stuff. When you understand that thought, is that thought aligned with what you really and truly believe? Yes. Is this thought aligned with what I really and truly believe? But it's aligned with what I really and truly want. Perish the thought. For a while, suffer that to be so, because at the end of the day, this one does not serve you well. This one does. Put more time, energy, and effort in the repairing, rebuilding, and restructuring for yourself. For men, it's all infrastructure. Why? Because we have to shoulder the weight of the family. So if I do not have the infrastructure, you cannot put a structure on top of me and it lasts. That's the thing. So now I have to build from the inside out. Doesn't matter what it looks like, because whoever she is, she needs to be building from the inside out as well. Go read what is it? Proverbs 31. Go read Proverbs 31. That should tell you what we be looking for. Build from the inside out, right? Don't worry so much about, I ain't saying to ignore the outside now, but I'm saying don't put so much of your efforts and attention on the outside that the inside is rotten. That's easy for us to see in our mature age. Now, when we was about 19, 20 years old, blind, nose blind, really, I mean, Ray Charles blind, like you just blind to everything. You know what I'm saying? Because all we see is, all right, then, yeah, to come to my house at 3 o'clock in the morning. All right, then. No, good and well, your grandma told you, say, hey, ain't nothing open after a certain time of night but the gas station, and y'all know the other one. So that's what I'm saying. So that's that. You have to understand which one serves you well and which one don't. So my answer to your question is question the thought. Question where the thought come from. Does the thought serve you well in that moment? And then which one you should go with. Because when you exercise metacognition, thinking about what you're thinking about, it will open doors for you.
I just wanted to add one thing. I don't want to hold us up. So when Coach said the word serve, I thought about also sometimes we enter into relationships where we want to be served because this is something that we have been used to or a behavior that we have adopted, that he needs to serve me. I am the prize. And so when I first started hearing that, I was like, what is that? What does that mean? And so in my mind, I was like, wow, that is utterly selfish and self-centered to believe just because you're the woman that he has to serve you. No, it's a mutual respect. And that's how you build the respect and trustworthiness within the relationship, is that it's a give and take. I value him, he value me. And that's all I wanted to add.
Did that answer your question, Adrienne?
Yes, it did. I just to add to that caveat, I was having a conversation with my sister Lisa, and I know that was something that we kind of touched on a little bit, but she wanted to kind of cover a little bit more here. And I always thought that it was a healthy thing to put those things that we want, kind of like the dreams and the hopes, kind of like in our dream and hope box. And I still want this thing, but I'm gonna cover this box up and I'm gonna put this on the shelf because right now I need to be completely engulfed in the Most High and unlearning things that I've learned. And so when the question came up, actually the whole topic of today, I said to her, ooh, you know, romantic relationships. I don't know if I really want to be on the panel to talk about that because I'm not good at that. And she said, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. She said, no, she said, we've all been there, right? And then we all have experiences that may not necessarily have turned out the way we want them, but they were all for us to learn more about ourselves. And so that was just kind of that when he touched on that, it kind of led to how my thought process was about my hopes and dreams box. But I wanted to make sure that I had that in a correct space. And so I felt like this was a safe place to ask that question. So thank y'all so much.
No, thank you for answering the question. You know, as I was listening, I heard two things. I thought about chemistry. I thought about making decisions based off of chemistry, and I thought about emotions, right? And emotions are something that we have, but we have to use them the right way. So when I began to learn about how I responded with my emotions, before I started doing my, professional development in personal coaching, right? I was making decisions from my emotions, and it never turned out well, right? So when we are focusing on chemistry come and go. It just comes and go, just like emotions, right? It's not sustainable. It's not going to last. I think someone put in the honeymoon phase. It's not sustainable. It's nothing you need to build a foundation on. Emotions, chemistry. You should not build anything on. As a matter of fact, you don't even need to be in love. This may be a little controversial, right? Because God is love, and the way that we've been taught love is not at all what he intended for, how he intended for us to be together in covenant relationships. So if we don't, I've gone back and learned God's instructions. I'm learning. And so when I think about that time that I made those decisions from my emotions, and I went back and I saw the outcome of those decisions, because your emotions change in a nanosecond. And you're building something on that. on a foundation that is not sustainable. And so it just makes me think about how we make these decisions, how we enter into what's in our mind. Like Coach, I think Coach said something about this is our core belief. This is what we believe. And we're making decisions for something that we need to throw in the garbage personally, right? We don't need to continue to make decisions from there because now we have the outcome that we have. So just wanted to add that because I think sometimes it's not easy to hear that the decisions I make are my own decisions and I'm responsible for those decisions. And so I need to make sure that I don't blame somebody else for it. That's not always easy to hear. And I'm saying this especially for women. This is the Hearts of Women podcast, especially for women. You know, we don't take accountability for the decisions we make, and we blame and we point fingers at the other person, but we had a part in it as well. So we have to begin to take responsibility, and we have to use forethought in making these decisions and not make them from a place that is not sustainable and is not a good solid foundation. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just want to say this real quick because what I don't want is somebody on the outside listening and they say, well, they're saying that my desires are wrong and I shouldn't have them. That's not what we're saying.
Yes.
I want you to understand, and I don't know, I'll talk about me. I'm 52 years old. When I was young, driving a car was different because it was all about me getting from point A to point B as fast as I possibly could. I'm not going to leave that last part out because that last part is important because it articulates the maturity of the person driving the car. So point A to point B as fast as I possibly could without getting a ticket. That was the goal, right? And so I do remember one time when because I had 2 stints at college, y'all, 2 different eras. My first stint wasn't so successful, just so y'all know. I remember going to class one day and I was late and it was raining and I was driving an old Blazer. And I went to make a turn and my tires started spinning. So I kind of whipped that bad boy around like the Dukes of Hazzard and stepped off the gas a little bit. Then I hit the gas again and came out that turn. And everybody in the yard was looking at me and said, man, that boy can drive. You know what I'm saying? That was cool. But in your older age, not so much. You take your time and you enjoy the scenery. You look at certain things. You enjoy nature, especially when you're driving on those country roads. But that's what we're talking about, right? What you observe, again, your emotion, your gates, things of that nature. When I was driving at a high rate of speed, I couldn't see nothing. I was just focused on looking to the left or right, looking for the cops, making sure that no one wasn't hiding behind the bush, looking for the red light, stop before, and then punch it when it's time to go. If hey, listen, I was driving a stick shift, I red line that bad boy from first to second, and I would skip third and drop it in fourth and be gone. It's a difference. That's what it's like when your desires are running you. You're driving at a high rate of speed and you're redlining. But once you learn to pull back off the clutch, right? And then become mature. Now, when you start to change gears and allow some of those desires to come up, they don't overtake you. They don't control everything, right? Those desires are now measured, and now you get to enjoy the scenery.
I just want to say I registered with that so well, and we are very clear on how your driving used to be now. Thank you for explaining that. But one of the things I thought about was the risk. You know, like when we were younger, like you said, that young driver, we were very, open to taking on a lot of that risk. We didn't really think about the consequences in those moments, right? It was really about the thrill and about getting there, like you said. But when you have had some experience in a space and you've had some experience on the road with your analogy, now it's different. Like back in the day, it was nothing to hop on a motorcycle and go. But nowadays, you're thinking about it a little bit more. You're thinking about the risks of, not only what can go well, but also those things that could go wrong if I make this decision. Because as time goes on, certain decisions become more costly, and so you have to weigh the cost and you have to count the cost. You understand what I'm saying? Because, it really is different now. And so that's what I was hearing as you was talking, is that as you mature and as life lessons and wisdom sets in, you start to measure the risk of it all. And so it's not necessarily always bad, but sometimes not taking this time is too risky for us to skirt past these things in this season, right? So I think one of the things that this goes with for any finance people out there, they say the same thing with your investments, okay, and the 401k space and all that stuff. When you're younger, you need to invest more in the stuff that can go crazy at any time. But as you get closer to retirement, they tell you to shift your investment. They tell you to shift. You can't do it because you don't have enough time to make up the difference, you know what I'm saying, as you did when you were younger. So it's kind of like that. I think as we get older, is that we don't have enough time. We don't have time to waste anymore. We don't have time to play around in this space. We need to make wiser decisions now. And so that's what I thought about coaches and the risk aspect of it. Thank you.
Fire. I love it. I love it. No, and I hope that we are those who are listening are getting something from it as well. So thank you guys for all of your input. I really do appreciate it. And we're at question number 3. So we usually are on here until we got about 30 more minutes or so. So just wants to be mindful of that, but not rushing it through everything, because I think that these conversations and these points are very important. And so we want to make sure that we are addressing them completely and not rushing through anything. Okay, so question number 3, how can understanding our own heart's motives improve our interactions with others in relationship? And I think I'll start this one off, if you don't mind. So it made me think about, when I think about the heart, right? And what the Word of God says pertaining to the heart. The heart can be deceitful. That's what the Word of God says, right? And it says desperately, and who can know it? And so it made me think about we all, I think we addressed part of this already, but I think it's so important for us to continue, to tease this out as well. So we often trick ourselves into thinking that our motives are pure when they might be selfish, when we're entering into any type of relationship. And so that's why we have to, guard our heart. And I think Coach mentioned the metacognition. Think about what you're thinking about. What's your intention? What's your purpose in this, right? What are your motives? And how can us taking that time to do that improve our relationship with others? And we talked about forethought as well. I think that is so important that we take the time. I mean, go through the entire scenario, right, in our minds. If I do this, then what's going to happen? What's the outcome based on the relationship that I have with this individual person? So that I just wanted to add that before you guys jumped in and answered this question.
So I was thinking about my old Army times and what I do now. So we have a thing called a deliberate risk assessment. And so when you do that risk assessment, it's deliberate because it's going to, pretty much address all the safety issues that may arise. So thinking about this question, I thought about being deliberate, being clear, and with my values and my beliefs when I'm entering into the relationship, right? And so therefore there isn't any left or right, that I can go. They're clear and they can understand it. Now at that point in time, they can say, well, I don't know if I deal with that like that, but I think being very forthright, upcoming with the person and letting them know where you are in your life, not giving them your resume, but just giving them where you are as far as your beliefs and your values. And so that way it kind of shapes and molds the relationship of where it may be able to go, because now we're in agreement that we both have this likeness. So everybody that knows me, my family members, whoever, they know I love the Lord. So there's no way that I'm going to go look for Tyrone. And Tyrone's still in the streets. Tyrone's still doing everything that I don't agree with. I'm not going to do that. So Also listening and being empathetic, listening to the other person, not listening to respond, but listening to really hear what they're saying and to receive it, because the best way to respond is to listen. And so in order for me to respond, I have to hear what you're saying in that space. And again, being present in the conversation is going to help clear up some things that you may have questions about, and being authentic and meaningful. So again, if you have a fake and phony character about you, and I like what Naisha said about character, I'm big on character. If I see you fake and phony, then I just say, okay, not for me. And I continue on. So there will create a mutual foundation for both of you guys to where understanding where she's coming from. So, you know, there are people that say, like, man, she don't play. Like when they say that, that means that there's no room for foolishness. And I believe in the space in my life now, there's no space for foolishness for me. So I'm going to be very direct and very forthcoming with what I'm thinking about as it pertains to relationships.
I think I'm gonna jump in early on this and get out the way. As I read this question, you know, how can understanding our own heart's motives improve our interactions with others and relationships? The first thing that comes to my mind is self-awareness. Now, like what I mentioned last night, you know, there is no self-awareness when I am self-absorbent. And I think that's the space that a lot of us find ourselves in, especially in the world that talks about me, 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 and me, right? You know, focus on yourself, self this and self that, and self, 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 self. Well, for me, when I consider this, understanding my heart's motives, I kind of mentioned it previously, what I believe, what I actually do, understand that there's a gap between the two, and help me to better, better shape what I am doing, so that it's more in line with what I believe, not from a space of compliance, but from a space of transformation. And so that's the key. As long as I am focused on self-reflecting, constantly self-reflecting, conducting introspective exercises to where I understand what it is that I'm really doing. Like, what's my focus? Like, where am I moving in this space in time? What's important to me, so forth and so on. Once I do that, then I should be at a space to where I operate from a degree of genuineness. Like, no one is 100% genuine. I don't care who you are, right? I love you. You're wrong if you ever said it. No one is 100% genuine, but you try to get as close to 100% as you possibly can be, so that now when you enter the space of relationship, and this is our relationship now, when you enter the space of relationship, you are considering what the relationship needs, not what I want, what I need from you, what I want from you. No, that's not why you're in relationship. You're in relationship, hopefully, to serve. But if the first thing that comes out of my mouth is what I want, what I need, what I desire, me, 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 and me, then I do not understand relationship. And I need to sit down for a second, take some time, conduct self-reflection, do some introspection, and then point it. I'm gonna go back to my brother here. Point it at a prescribed doctrine that focuses on transformation.
Fire. That's good. That's good. Did everybody answer that question?
I was going to come off and just say that Coach put it very, very eloquently, but I was in my mind, I was thinking my own heart's, let me make sure I say it right, my own heart's motives, right? So when I kind of took that apart, I thought about if I'm just talking about me, I want to lean in with service. But is that what my heart is, right? And Coach said it in a way that I never thought about it before, but I was kind of leaning into that. I may be thinking service, I may be doing service, but is the motive in my heart service? Mm-hmm. It kind of flipped it on me a little bit, right? And because I've my own person, I don't have any children, I've never really had anybody depending on me. Everything I've pretty much done has been kind of self-serving, even though I am in service to other people. I mean, just, being transparent. So because I know that's in there, and I'm glad that Coach said that about being 100% genuine, because I know that that's there. It's like, then I started thinking about as far as the heart and why the Bible says guarding your heart. in my mind, I'm thinking because I don't want it to be hurt, but really and truly, because I need to figure out what's going on in there. Right. So if I understand that there's a part of the heart that is that has a selfishness in it, and that has to be weeded out, then I need to understand that also that the intention of the heart doesn't necessarily always align with what's going on in the mind. So I thought about that. And then, as you know, the son of Timothy talked about, you know, where you are in your own life and what it is that you absolutely need despite your desire, then that puts me right back into the place of understanding that what I'm thinking may not necessarily mean what I'm desiring, and why it is so important to protect that and guard the heart.
And that's what I love about this question, right? It goes backwards to where I was there. When I spend that time allowing myself and allowing the Father to work on me, I actually get an opportunity to learn me. And I think that's the space where I can now be honest with myself about what a relationship means to my life, to my walk. Like, and because because here's the thing, some of us have to be very honest, and this is like, so when I was preaching in the church, right? We were busy. I was busy every week, every Sunday. I was busy, and I was busy during the week too, because I was still ministering music half the time. So and so my musicians, y'all know, ain't no breaks between preparing service and preparing music. It ain't no breaks, all right? Getting into relationships, I was not being fair and honest to women who thought they wanted to marry a preacher. Like, hey, all this you want, I'm thinking that I can do this and I can be this and we're gonna have this, we're gonna do this all the time and I'm gonna always be right. No, we're gonna always be up inside this church. That's where we gonna be. And when I'm home, I need that time and that space in my office so that I can study, so that I can, and I'm not just studying Bible, I'm studying music. So you got a triple-headed sword when you're dealing with me, right? But I wasn't honest to myself about that, and so I couldn't be honest to the women that I was talking to, because this you're not going to get the availability. And this is what I tell, and I know we're talking to the women, right? This is the hearts of women too, right? So this is what we have to look at when you saying I want a 6-figure guy, right? Are we being honest with that? You want a 6-figure guy, but you want a guy that's going to plan trips every month, that's going to do this every week and going to do this? No, he's not. Or you want a guy that owns his own business. If you want to spend time with him, what are you willing to invest into that business to help him grow, to help him move? Because a driven guy, if the money is the goal, right? A driven guy, a career focused guy, is going to put in some man hours into that business. Not on what's the facts. That's pretty much what I'm saying. I love how he just summed it up, right? I tell you, he cleans it after I muddy it. But this is the mindset that I'm thinking about. Like, because if you spent enough time allowing yourself to be made, then you have spent enough time learning what you have in you to offer. Now that plays the part into what I am going to look for going forward. Simply made.
Okay. Thank you. Just want to do some right. Thank you, Son of Timothy, and each and every one of you guys. Thank you for the response. And I think it makes you consider and think, about what we're doing. So I think this is what the conversation is all about, right? About us being intentional about what God has in store for us, for his children. So I think that's important. I want to take a few moments to, this is the Empowering Perspective platform. And this is the podcast under the Empowering Perspective platform, The Hearts of Women. And I wanted to make sure that, I think Crystal put in to help you guys understand what we have coming up next for January 31st. I want to take a few moments to share that information with you. So we do have a conference coming up, and wanted to make sure that we invited you to it. You can scan that code and you can see what we have coming up. I think it will be the code right here, right above my coach's head. And you will see, just go scan it and see the information that's on there and see if it's something that piques your interest. I'm excited about what we're doing in our community, growing, coming together, and continuing to put God first and to understand his purpose and his will for our lives. So I think you would really enjoy this. Is not, this is not an upsell, but it is just let you be aware of what we have going on in the community. We do a lot of stuff, and I want to take the time to appreciate the mindset coach, Dr. Dwayne Dwyer, because it's important for all the things that he is doing in the community, and we appreciate him. So thank you so much. I wanted to add that because I think everyone who is listening in, if you guys go scan that code and see what we're talking about, I think you'll really enjoy that time that we're setting aside for this event for January 31st, and it's on a Saturday as well. So please, if you are able to join us, check it out, and then reach out to any of us and let us know your thoughts, or if you have any questions. Okay, so we're almost coming to the end, and I want to go ahead and set the order for us to get ready to close out. We're going to do one final question. The next question number 4, we're going to do that question, and then we're going to do our final thoughts. And we're going to start with Gaddy. Go around and up, and I will to coach after everyone else, and then I will close it out. But this is our question, okay?
So just want to make sure is this the final question?
Yes.
Okay.
We ain't gonna have time to do another one. I don't think. Yes, this is the final question, and then final thoughts after the final question.
Gotcha.
Okay. So, what role does financial stewardship play in building a strong marriage, and what does the Bible say about managing money? What you doing over there? Say it. Just say it, because I don't. What are you talking
I'm requesting Sister Naisha to go first. That's all.
Okay. No, because she does. That's right. The money man. Okay, so let me ask the question. So we know Naisha's going first on this question. She's gonna set the room in order. Okay, so what does financial stewardship? What role does financial stewardship play in building a strong marriage, and what does the Bible say about managing money?
I feel like God has a sense of humor. I am not surprised about starting here. Listen, so I'd like to first thing, how people like to say that money isn't everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
People love to say that. And deep down inside, we know that to be true. It's not everything. But at the same time, we can't dismiss that it is something. Right. And that's why I like to tell people, like, no, money is not everything, but money is something, and money is important. And in the space of a marital relationship, you want to know how we know that this is important, because this is one of the one reasons why marriages fall apart. So we cannot continue to allow people to think that it means nothing in a relationship, because it's tripping a lot of people up. The reality of it is it's not everything. It shouldn't rule over you. It shouldn't be the guider. No, but you cannot dismiss it. You do have to press into those areas to gain understanding, because of the fact that what we're tripping up off of is the mismanagement and the misunderstanding of how we are going to handle the finances when we come together. But before we come together, there's already some management going on in financial spaces, or the lack of, that we need to know and we need to understand before we cross those markers, because a lot of times people are skewing over this subject because the love and the like is so high. And then you wake up and you're in this situation and you're like, wow, I have connected myself, or I'm that person who mismanages money all the time. That individual has connected their life with me. And now we're wrestling inside the confines of this, covenant, that we have now established it. So it's when there's not mutual understanding of what our financial situations is going to look like and how we're going to handle our affairs, it's an issue. So I like to say financial stewardship, it builds trust, okay? But it also demonstrates care. And it's displayed through responsible behavior, which ultimately communicates safety. So it's like the lack of financial stewardship, it produces the opposite of that. It's a breakdown of trust. It doesn't demonstrate care and concern for all parties involved. And it's usually irresponsible behaviors. And therefore, someone in that situation ends up feeling unsafe. Right. And so I would say that money conflicts sometimes are deeper issues in the relationship, is deeper. Sometimes money conflicts is directly connected to character concerns. And so that's why we cannot smooth over it. You know what I'm saying? And so when you ask like a scripture, one of the things that came to mind was Luke chapter 16, verse 11, where it says, if you have not been trustworthy in handling worldly wealth, who will trust you with true riches? And the word that stood out to me in that moment was the word handling. You know, it's the action aspect of it, you know? And so I was just thinking about that when, you know, I hope I did that justice for you, Coach, but that's the main thing. Like, we just can't skirt over this. I know that, you know, you're not going to be led by it, things of that nature, but because we see that this breaks down, even in the faith community, a lot of marriages, we cannot act like this is not a key topic that needs to be looked at, because my financial practices apart from you, okay, and your financial practices apart from me, they don't just go away. They're going to come together, and we're going to see whether it is aligned or is, you know what I'm saying, or if it does not connect at all. So I like to say that while we're looking for emotional compatibility and lifestyle compatibility, we also need to think about financial compatibility. That's what I'll digress right there. Thank you.
I'm gonna go next because I was thinking about financial literacy as we were growing up. We was not taught financial literacy. That wasn't a dinner around the table kind of conversation. We were taught to work, earn a wage, and pay your bills, and that's where most of us came from, or we came from the notion that you work hard, things we eventually turn around. And I know watching Good Times, for me, I was like, they never going to get out the projects, because it just seemed like they just always had bad luck. Even if James got a good job, he'll lose it the next day. So I was like, wow, is this how it works? You know? But understanding that when a couple is together, them being together and financially like monitoring their money, it's a spiritual walk as well, because God not only, you know, provides increase, but he won't increase if he sees that we're not able to manage what we have already. And I believe that if I'm not managing my money properly between the husband and wife, then we'll be stuck or we'll chase our tail. I thought about Amos 3:3 as it pertains to that scripture. And it says, can two walk together except they be agreed? So again, you have one that may have a space of financial literacy and the other one doesn't. That is a conflict, because in my mind, I should be able to spend the way I want to. I work, but that's going to have to come from a conversation where you both get on the same playing field and understand how finances can disrupt the relationship. And I wanted to also say that it comes with a priority, understanding the priorities as well. And then it builds trust, and it also builds discipline within the relationship as it pertains to the finances too. So I think none of this I ever learned in my first marriage. We were young and we had money and we spent, and not thinking about later on in life how that money could help in other ways. We just wasn't there because that's not something we were taught. So not blaming our parents, but just merely the fact that we have the opportunity now to teach our children financial literacy, or just talk to them about finances and understanding when they enter in a relationship with another person, that it's a responsibility, and you don't get to bring all that baggage and how you mismanage money into the relationship. It's not fair to the other person. So that's what that was my thoughts.
I love that this question said financial stewardship and not just talking about money specifically, right? Because that goes into showing the responsibility or the responsible nature that you ought to have into looking at money. I think this conversation becomes a hot topic because we have this aspect of you have to provide this specific life that only, that only 1% of the population lives. And I don't think people look at that because we allow what we've done. And this goes to a lot of what we talked about today. We live in this society to where everything seems glamorized. And so that alone plays a major part into the mindset that goes into the large mismanagement of money in today's society, because everybody's trying to fly out everywhere. Everybody's trying to wear the high price this, and everybody's trying to do this and want the freshest sneakers, want to wear. But that leads to poor money management. If you're trying to keep up, when I was young, the old folk used to call it keeping up with the Joneses. All the Joneses I knew was just as poor as me, so I didn't know which ones they were talking about. But so we have to get to a place to where we actually create true expectations, right? So the expectation is if you're a woman saying the man is going to the man needs to front 100% of the lifestyle financially, then the question is, what kind of lifestyle are you willing to have so that he could do such things? Oh, well, that's why you only date what? The 1%. That means you girlfriend number 12, because most of them guys got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, and half of y'all ain't the wife getting the money. So let's just be honest about it, right? So if we're talking about the majority of our population is making 60 and below, we need to curb our expectations, and that's the first part to me of stewardship. So we need to curb our men. We need to curb. Some of y'all not gonna be able to buy that lady the 12,000 square foot home. 1,200 is not all right. 12,000 square foot home on 20 acres. And you be seeing this stuff, these lifestyle, but where does that come from? Because we go on social media and it's like, oh, kid, you want to live this life? Click this, and you go to these landing pages that's teaching you all of these fake hacks and telling you that everybody on there can become a millionaire, and we all and we live in, and we thinking these fantasies are our realities. They are not the majority's reality. So first, curb our expectations, and now let's begin to work from there. Now my question is, what do our finances look like going forward from here? What are the smart decisions that we can make? Right? I do not listen to folk who tell me, hey man, I could flip your money, because only two type of people flip money: liars and drug dealers, and I ain't none of them. So I'm just saying. So let's be smart. Let's make the right, because at the end of the day, I got to make sure that she got somewhere to sleep tomorrow. I got to make sure that her and them kids got food in that fridge tomorrow as well, not just today. So maybe we need to make large meals that we can eat on for 2 days for right now until we get better. But I know our time is short, so I'm gonna shut up.
I just want to plug right here, if you don't mind, Coach. I'm gonna let you go. But if you want to buy that 12,000 square foot house, call me in South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia. I'm just saying, I got you.
Shameless plug, by the way. Shameless plug.
Hey, I threw the assist, so do I get any that?
I think this is a great question, and I love the responses, man. Because again, if I got this at the age of 19, I at least would have had the awareness of some things. I probably wouldn't have been able to practice the things y'all talking about because y'all would have been talking way above my head, but at least I would have some type of awareness. Um, I like to look at the book of Psalms 24. And the first verse kind of puts us in the right frame of mind that I believe wholeheartedly that we have lost sight of. It says, "The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell within." This you got to kind of let that sit for a hot second. But then if you go down to verse 7, it really, to me, I think it kind of puts things into perspective. Because verse 7 says, lift up your heads, O ye gates, and be ye lift up, ye everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. I think the major reason why we struggle when it comes down to finances, because we don't recognize that it all belongs to the King anyway. The King, I'm gonna give y'all a foreshadow. The King provides the resources for the thing he called you to do. All you got to do is get in line with the thing he called you to do, and he will provide. It's called provision. That's what the King does in the kingdom. So, what role does financial stewardship play in the building of a strong marriage? If I first built a strong marriage, meaning that she understands my hand is on this plow and she's here, like Gaddy just said, she's here for the assist, right? Then watch this, you got men, listen to me and hear me well, and then we'll come back to my women. She will ensure that you actually handle the resources well. She will protect. She won't take them out there and go buy the red bottom shoes. She's like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go over here to Payless because I seen some shoes I like over there and it looked really good with my outfit. And you know what? It ain't gonna cost that much money. She ain't looking to be flown to Tahiti and Dubai and all that other stuff. Man, we go to Myrtle Beach and I'm happy with that. She understands those things. Men, stop being caught up in the glamour and the glitz and the bling and all that other great stuff. Like I said, it looked good on the shelf, right? Every car that you see on the car lot ain't a good car. It might be a lemon. You got to test drive the car. Now, y'all can go down the rabbit hole on your own. I won't have that conversation. But I'm just saying, test drive the car to understand how the car actually performs. In this regard, I'm going back to what Naisha said previously. Character is the performance measure that we're looking at. Again, go look at Proverbs 31, man. That's what you should be looking for a queen in your kingdom. That's what it is. The earth is the fullness. The earth belongs to the Lord and the fullness therein. If we keep in mind that all of this belongs to the King, we are a part of the kingdom, and we are called to steward his goods, then he gives us resources to steward. And that's it.
I love all the responses to this question. And I just wanted to add to this, when we think, as we're, preparing to close and give our final thoughts, that as we begin to think about being in relationship and stewardship, right? God has blessed us. When you have your children, you are to be a good steward over raising them up in the way that they should go. When he blesses you with a mate, you're coming together to prove his will. And what does that look like? What is the vision? What is your husband's vision for that household? That 1 Corinthians 11:3 that gives the order, right? The everything that we have, even our employment, everything God blessed us with, and we are to steward that, right? And it's for us to steward and to be a blessing to others, not just ourselves, but the first home, right? And so when I think about the stewardship and the financial responsibility as well, to this question, I wanted to respond. There's the scripture says that where was this question? Okay, there's treasure to be desired in oil in the dwelling of the wise, but a foolish man spendeth it up, right? We talked about spending up taking your finances and using them for something that's not beneficial, that's not going to add any value, right? That's Proverbs 21:20, right? So the Bible calls that person foolish. So if you're just going and spending money, you're not being considerate about your budget and your household and the stress that it's going to cause on your mate, then you are being foolish. And as Lakeisha said, I know I just messed up. I messed up your name. I'm so sorry. That's the number one cause of a divorce, right? And so we have to be wise. It's not all about trying to keep up with anyone, like the son of Timothy said, right? Because these material things are not going to go anywhere with you. They're going to stay right here, and you're going to go on to be where you're supposed to be at. So, I mean, so we have to be mindful of how we're entering into and not allow the social media to influence us, because that's what it does. It's unrealistic. It's not real. And we have to go back and see what the word of God is teaching us so that we can do it the right way, because we're not doing it the right way, evidently. So I'll land there. I think everyone answered the question. Everyone answered this question? Okay, so we're going to go to our final thoughts. Thank you guys again for being with us. The Hearts of Men, Dr. Dwayne Dwyer and the son of Timothy are from the Hearts of Men on the Empowering Perspective. Check them out every Friday night on the same YouTube channel. Please subscribe. They have a lot of conversations pertaining to, men's concerns with men, but we are there to support, because there's something for everyone. So please join us every Friday night for that as well. We have Bible studies on Sunday. Join us for that as well. There's a lot of things that we do in this community. So I just want to make you aware of what we do in this community, and we are intentional about making sure that we put God first, but we also we live in this world, and we're going to deal with some of the things that we are experiencing in it, so that we can make sure we stay on track, and we make sure that we keep each other accountable in community. So if you want to be a part of a community like that, let us know. Reach out, join the community, see what we're doing. There's lots of content on our YouTube pages that you can go and look at as well. So would advise you to do that as well. And lastly, before I go, I'm just trying to give January 31st. There's just the code. Please scan, check out, see what we're doing, and we will be. I'm excited about that upcoming workshop as well. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start with Mr. Gaddy, Adrienne, Michelle, Naisha, and then the mindset coach, Dr. Dwayne Dwyer.
Yes, I love this conversation. But whenever we talk about relationships, and we always got to put it into a biblical perspective, I like to toot the same horn every time, right? Consistency. So when you look at Ephesians 5, everyone loves to talk about Ephesians 5, but if you heard me talk about this, you've heard me say this before. But there's two elements in here that we don't focus on. At verse 25, it says, "Husband, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church." And it's our job to do the work to see what that all entails. And being a steward of your money is a part of that. Being intentional is a part of that. Provision is a part of that. Leading and guiding your family and keeping yourself under the protection of the Most High and in His Word. That's a part of that love, right? For Christ did what? He gave up His life for it. He came. The scripture says that He, finding not robbery to be equal with God, came down and to put on, the fleshly armor of man, right? So he gave up His life to be the groom, the bridegroom to the church, right? And so vice versa, as man, that's who we are called to be. But as wives, women, go back up to verse 22. Wives, submit yourselves unto your husband as unto the Lord. I think we do very well when we understand that the commandment of love from husband to wife, and the commandment of the wife is to submit yourselves unto your husband. It doesn't mean as a slave unto a master, right? Because that's how people try to spin it to make what the scriptures say sound bad, right? But as unto the Lord, as unto the Most High, right? That is our service to the Father, is to do what He commanded us to do. So everything we talked about, that means being that support, being that help me, protecting him financially, because if he's loving you like he's supposed to, and he's trying to, part of that is going to be trying to give you what you desire and what you ask for. So why ask for, who said it? Somebody said, why ask for the red bottoms when y'all got JC Penney money right now? We're gonna get, maybe He'll allow us to get there, but today, look, we have to grow. We have to be obedient over what He's given us, and do wisely with what we have, so that we can continue to grow. We can continue to advance in Him first, together, so that He can advance us to His kingdom. Because that's the end goal. It's not that mansion, it's the kingdom. That mansion over there. But I digress.
I truly, truly enjoyed this conversation today. I thought that it was impactful, it was helpful, and it allowed us to see some things more aligned than the things that the world has taught us, or that society currently is trying to push upon us. The one thing that I'm going to take away from today is definitely being self-aware. And I believe that when we focus a little bit more on being really aware of what it is that you have going on, before you start trying to align yourself with someone else, making sure that you are a good steward of finances, making sure that you do have the correct heart intention, making sure that you are aligned with what the scripture says that you should be when in looking for the person that that you believe that the Most High would have you to be with. Being self-aware and understanding exactly where you are is so important before you start to connect and covenant with someone else. So I know that Gaddy, whom I love to hear him talk, he's always very inspirational. But also he talked about Ephesians 5 and breaking that down, which is very important. But if you are in your single season, also looking at those first 4 books of Ephesians 2 and making sure that we are sifting ourselves and making sure that we are holding up that mirror to make sure that those things are also not a part of our lives, if that's not the direction that you believe the Most High would have you to go. Continuing to grow in your individuality, so that when you come into covenant, you can grow together, which is so important. I know the phrase falling in love is so important, but don't fall because it hurts. Make sure you're growing in love. And with that being said, have a wonderful afternoon.
I wanted to thank the Voice of Reason, Sister Lisa, and Coach for allowing me to be a guest today. I greatly appreciate it, and I do not take it lightly. So what really resonated with me during this conversation and beforehand was the owning up to my own heart's motives. And so I wanted to read scripture, Jeremiah 17:9. It says, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? And so understanding that the essentials for building a God-honoring relationship, scripture teaches us that what flows out of us to others is shaped by what lives within us. And I believe that. So again, going back to the notion of I have to look inward first. I have to do the self-examination. I have to do the work prior to believing that I can enter into another relationship or a relationship with another. Bringing my old baggage and my beliefs and my fallacies with me, it won't do anyone any good. So looking inward first and doing the work is going to be a much better notion than just believing that I can come as my old self into a relationship. And lastly, allowing God to refine who I am. Brother Gaddy said that beautifully. I love that. So being transformed is key, and allowing him to transform transform and mold me into the product that he wants me to be, so that way that it is a betterment for not only the relationship, but it is pleasing to him as well. That is what I thought about as far as the motives of the heart. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for allowing me to be here today. And what I wanted to say, it's been a pleasure with everyone on the panel. I just want to give some encouragement to anyone who's in the room that is in their single season. And what I would like to say to you is just because it has not been doesn't mean it will not be. And I just want you to know that and be encouraged by that, because sometimes when you're waiting, it's a real, desire. And what, like Coach said on today, we're not telling you to cancel your desires, but I'm telling you to continue on in your process with God. If you need to heal, allow him to heal you. If you need to develop in a certain area, allow him to develop you. In your single seasons, you're not sitting idle. There's a work that's going on in you and in your heart in this season, and you have to allow God to do the work. And there's a preparation, but guess what, there's also a preparation that your partner is going through too. So starting with self first, under the contents of God and the framework of what the word of God says, you can never go wrong. So you're not sitting idly, you're actually allowing him to move and work inside of you in the midst of your waiting. Okay, so remember, just because it has not been doesn't mean that it will not be. God bless each and every one of you, and thank you for allowing me to speak today.
Like everybody else, I greatly appreciate this conversation. I want to start off by saying a lot of times we were trying to play the game that we didn't know the rules to. Um, I believe for the most part, we have joined the thing, and I'm just using that loosely. We've joined the thing and we literally skipped the foundational education of that thing and attempted to jump all the way to the collegiate aspect of it. And we were struggling because we did not necessarily understand the foundational aspects of that thing that we were trying to exercise. Relationship is collegiate level work. I'll say it again. Relationship, and I'm not talking about college as we know it in the world. It is collegiate level work in the scriptures, but we miss the foundational training. If you didn't get the foundational training, understanding what the law is in the beginning, then it did not position you and posture you properly so that when you accepted the gift of God, which is salvation through Christ Jesus, it did not posture you properly to be the expression of your understanding of who he is, and more importantly, for you having a good understanding of who you are. So now you're in a space of wanting to exercise collegiate level work, but still have not understood the foundational aspect of it. So in your singleness, if you are single, understand what responsibility and accountability means. If someone tells you something about you, believe it. Do the research on you to verify the thing that they're telling you about you exists or not. It's important for you to look. Don't reject everything you hear about you, because 9 times out of 10, you are rejecting the fact that you have blind spots. Everybody has them. A lot of us live in this life through the lens of entitlement, and they believe they deserve everything under the sun, but they have no measure of sacrifice for anything that they receive. That's not relationship. So I'm saying all this to say, at the end of the day, we have to go back. We have to understand some things, some core things to get us to the space that we're trying to be. I made a statement earlier. I forgot to come back and give the other side to it. I talked to the men. I told the men, when it comes down to women, this is what she would do. She would help protect your finances. The other side of it, women, if he does not understand what he is called to do, he is not relatable.
That's right.
I'm just going to keep it real. I'm sorry. Give him time, give him the space to figure out what God called him to do. If you're trying to attach yourself to him way too early, both of you are existing in survival. And both people existing in survival will end up using each other to survive. And that's my final thoughts.
Whew. Thank you. Thank you. I have enjoyed each and every final thought. It made me think about, first of all, I want to say, Coach, we don't do Payless. JC Penney's a little bit closer to what, I was thinking. But I want to say that I have truly enjoyed this conversation about kingdom covenant relationships. And the thing that I'm so thankful for, and the thing that I'm thankful that God has taught me, is that I'm glad to be that God created me a woman, because man has a great responsibility. And if he does not know that the importance of having an advisor and someone to help build him up, and also be responsible for the relationship that he has with God, and submit to him, because that trickle downs and affects his family, then we're not truly understanding the dynamics of being in relationship, and making sure our responsibility as women to make sure that we hold them up, and that we're good advisors, and we listen. But even if they don't take the advice, men or our mates take the advice that we give them, that's going to be between them and God. There's no sense of having a discussion after that, because we're here to advise, to pray, and then the final decision. I know a lot of people may not agree with this, but it's in place, and it works, because God is going to hold him accountable, because he has to submit to God. So I think that's something that we truly need to understand. And also that intentionality is understanding that men are going to cultivate, they're going to strengthen, they're going to teach their families, right? And I think that's important. No one's going to come to you complete as well, right? But you have at least had that done some work, or tried to do some work on yourself, because that's not acceptable. Taking me as I am. I hear that statement all the time. You're going to accept me as I am. No, I don't have to. I'm not going to, because I understand what God says in his word that I need to look for in a mate. And so that's very important, that we be intentional about joining our lives with anyone else. And I think that's very important. So I just wanted to say that, and thank you guys again for this conversation. And as you take me back to the screen with everyone else, I want to ask them a question. So we have requested for part 2 of this conversation, because we did not finish it. So I have to ask the Hearts of Men and ask Miss Nisha and Michelle if they would come back and join us for part 2 of this, and that would be in February.
I'd be happy to come back. Yes, absolutely.
Put you on the spot.
I would be honored. I would be honored, sis.
Okay, Mr. Gaddy, I got to ask him, because I know he'd be busy.
I'm gonna commit now.
Okay.
Okay.
Dr. Dwyer.
I'm in. Overwhelming response for part 2, by the way. Just
okay. Okay. Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. I think what was you saying, Coach? I know you were messaging over there. You're doing some hand signaling.
No, what I just said. Overwhelming response for part 2.
Okay, yeah. Part 2. Okay. I know Michelle wanted to do a shout out to someone. You're on mute, Michelle.
Thank you, sis. I wanted to say to my dearest sister, Tanya Williams, happy birthday. I love you, and we're grateful to God that you're here with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I thank Tanya for coming and participating and being in the conversation with us as well. Well, guys, I thank you for staying with us. We usually do this for an hour and a half, but I thank you for staying with us a little bit longer, and enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Thank you.